Welcome, everybody. Coming to you live from the man cave. This is a special episode. As always, I am your host, Daniel, and let me tell you why. It's a unique or special episode. This will be the last episode of the In Between Dreams podcast. Had quite the run. Samantha and myself podcast for about a year and a half, weekly, every other week kind of thing. Then we got married, kind of didn't podcast for a while. Life just kind of, we weren't worried about podcasting. I think I recorded 1 or 2 episodes. Since then, I had every intention of bringing it back, doing it regularly. However, I did start a YouTube channel, which is a vlog kind of that took over for our podcast. We would talk about what we were doing, and we would show you what we were doing. There's a couple videos out there, aren't the best, but working to get them better. In that same time, had a little bit of a run with my best friend Bryson with the podcast. I think we recorded 3 or 4 episodes, but then both of our jobs kind of got demanding, and we didn't really have time to sit down and record anymore. Maybe if we can bring that back every now and then, it would be nice. Just because it's a lot easier to podcast when you have a co-host than it is to sit here and basically talk to yourself for however long you're going to talk. So with that, I just want to say thank you for sticking with me, listening. If you listen to any of the episodes, really appreciate your support through the, I guess, years. We've almost been married for a year now, and so the podcast probably started 2 years ago, maybe, I don't know. So it's definitely plural. With that said, with this podcast ending, it's also a birth of a new podcast. So I am going to continue podcasting. However, I am going to do it under a podcast name of SheDanigans. SheDanigans is the name of my YouTube channel, so I figured that I figured my podcast should be under the same name. That way it's easier for me if I ever wanted to do any kind of, I don't know, anything really. I do plan on eventually recording the podcast visually, and then uploading those to YouTube as well. Not quite there in my technology savvy. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to learn how to do everything like that. The In Between Dreams podcast will not be deleted. It will be there on all the platforms, so you can go back and listen to any episodes if you wanted to. I know I did a couple episodes of informing people, like of fast passes at Disney, or one of my best, highest listening I don't even know what you would say. Some of the best numbers of a podcast that I did was actually my best man one. I'm giving ideas on how to give a best man speech and everything to that nature. So that's still going to be out there. There just won't be any new episodes. And then the Shenanigans podcast is just going to be a brand new podcast. This episode that you're listening to right now is going to be on both. So it is the last In Between Dreams podcast, but it's also the first Shenanigans podcast. So I know it does take some time for the podcast to get up on Apple. I believe it's on Spotify right away, and I'm going to use the Anchor app, so it will be on the Anchor app right away. So if you have subscribed to the In Between Dreams podcast, please go over and subscribe to the Shenanigans podcast. I do hope to give these out more often than not. Hopefully Samantha joins me sometimes, and there's some pretty big updates in our life. If you haven't heard, we'll get to those in a little bit. So thank you for listening to my rambling entrance there. Hope you guys are all well. the whole coronavirus, COVID-19 is taking over the world. I'm not really going to give my thoughts on it. As you guys know, that I don't like talk about the news. When I was in college, one of my professors said, don't watch the news. It's a waste of time. It is filled with nothing but negative information. He said, this was back in 2007, 2008. I remember him saying it always starts with something negative. There was a murder, or there was a fire. Now it's all political nonsense. So I don't watch the news. I don't like talking about the news. Samantha will sometimes talk about the news, and that's kind of where I get my information from. Or I'll see somebody post something on social media, and I'll kind of look it up if I'm curious about it. But I don't like, I've said an awful lot. I don't like hearing people's political opinions of people that I don't know. There's just one side or the other, and I don't like hearing them. I don't like engaging in that information, in that conversation. And really on social media, like, people get so defensive and they argue over things. And I always think to myself, has anybody ever convinced somebody to switch to their thought process? You got to have an open mind, but it seems like a lot of people, they believe what they believe. And yeah, so anyway, moving past that, I don't want to talk about that anymore. But about the COVID-19, I wanted to talk about kind of some things that are going on, and people, I guess, that I feel bad for in this whole situation. First, the people that I feel bad for are the seniors. I think about them sometimes, and they missed out on some of their last, I think the last day that I was in the office, it was probably the last day that they were in school, was March 13th. So usually graduate, end of May, beginning of June. So we'll say 3 months. The last 3 months of their senior year, they won't be able to experience. If they played sports, they don't get to experience that last sports season in high school. And some of them, I would say, over our country, I would say, now I have no numbers to run this off, but this is just my thought. I would say 90% of them will never play the sport again. Baseball players might go on to college. Actually, any sport might go into college, but I was thinking baseball players, some of them typically play slow pitch softball as they get older. I played a little bit. I know a lot of the guys that I grew up playing with play slow pitch softball. They dominate slow pitch softball. But they don't get to, seniors in high school don't get to have their senior prom. They don't get to have their graduation, which sucks. And I know a lot of people are like, I hate high school. I would never go back to high school. But even when they're in, I hate school. I can't wait to get done. But when you look back on it, sometimes in high school, you have your really close friends. And I know that I have two really close friends from high school. They were both groomsmen in my wedding. But then I also have a handful of other people from high school that I still keep in contact with. But a large majority of the people, even people I hung out with in high school, you never really talk to them again after you graduate. You never see them again. It's kind of, you just go your own separate ways. So you don't get to have those last couple months with friends, and they're stuck inside. So, I definitely feel for them. And of course the college seniors as well. They don't get to walk or have any kind of celebration. That's such a big accomplishment in their lives, to be able to graduate college or with their bachelor's, their master's, associates, their doctorate, whatever it may be. And, their parents who want to see, because, when I graduated college, I didn't really care about walking the stage, but um, my mom cared. My dad and my mom cared. So you kind of do it for them, and it was such a big accomplishment. Personally, at the time, I'm just like, I graduated college. I did what I was supposed to do. But looking back on it, it was like a big moment in my life. And I'm glad I did walk. I'm glad my parents got to see me walk. I'm glad my son got to see me walk. Nathan was there. He was only, 5 at the time, but he was there and he remembers it, and it kind of set the example. I know a lot of people don't have a kid as young as I had a kid, but a lot to me personally, it meant a lot that he was there. Kind of say that, hey, my dad went to college. I should probably go to college too. But even if he doesn't choose to go to college, which I hope he does, I hope he continues and plays baseball as long as he can, and whatever D1, D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA, whatever it may be, because he loves baseball, and I hope that he gets that chance to play at the next level. But as long as he picks a career that he wants to succeed at, whether it's in a trade school or whatever it may be, I'll be fine with. But since he saw his dad graduate, he knows that it's something that can be possible in my personal family. And I'm sure a lot of you feel the other way. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. Another group of people that I feel bad for are the 12-year-olds in Little League. For the first time in forever, no. For the first time in the history of Little League Baseball, they've canceled their World Series. The 12-year-olds, it is their last opportunity to get there. Now, granted, it is extremely hard to get to the Little League World Series, but you always have that hope in your 12-year-old year. I know I did. We won districts and went to states, finished third in the state. But I had that dream of getting there. Nathan had that dream of getting there. They came up short a lot. The majority of the people come up short of getting the Little League World Series, but it's your last hurrah in Little League. And a lot of kids, this is the last time they ever play baseball. They move on and they do other things. So they don't get that opportunity to have that 12-year-old year, which is a special year for Little League Baseball when you play Little League Baseball. So I know when this first happened, that was kind of one of the first things I thought of, especially when we walk the dogs. We go by the Little League field, and it's like, it's weird to see it at this time of year in spring, where it should be filled with little kids running around playing baseball with smiles on their face and just enjoying the game. But unfortunately, the world had different plans this year. A couple more, two major categories, major people that fall into the categories that I do feel sorry for. And I'm trying to remember, I didn't write any notes down. You would think I would have some notes, since this is the first time I'm doing a podcast and how long, but I started to type up notes, and I remember one time Samantha told me that when I write it down, you can tell, and it's not as good as when I just sit here and talk. So I figured I would just come down to the basement in the man cave and look at the jerseys on the wall and the pictures on the wall, and just kind of let it go. So the next group of people that I feel bad for are the people that were supposed to get married from any time from March to current, and probably for the next few months. They've had to push back their wedding. I know that from personal experience and my personal wedding, and being a best man in a wedding and being in another wedding, and attending many weddings, I know how much planning goes in to the wedding itself, how much time, money, effort, thought process, everything that it kind of consumes you when you're planning a wedding, and you look forward to that day. Your spouse your future husband or wife look forward to that day. Your families look forward to that day, and they've had to so much uncertainty that's going on. They've had to cancel their weddings or push back their weddings, and some people wait for a very specific day, date, some need a place, and it's a very wedding planning can be extremely stressful. It I don't really know what all to say about it. If you've been married or helped plan a wedding, or anybody you know that's planned a wedding, you know that it can be very stressful, and it does take a lot of your time. It does take a lot of your money, and just to have to reschedule that and so much uncertainty, and you look forward to it so long. People have been engaged for a long time or short amount of time, and they had their hopes up of getting married, and it keeps getting pushed back, and now they don't know when they can get married, because now they're gonna fight further. If they had a venue, let's say it opens back up in August. Well, now people have been booked in August for a long time, since people usually book about a year out, and the longer you wait, the harder it gets to secure a venue and secure the date that you want. So much uncertainty that's going on. I do feel bad for everyone that's supposed to get married. And then the last group of people that I feel bad for are the people that are having a child or recently had a child, which, if you didn't know, that's where I fall into the category. But I'll get there in a second. So the people, if they're having a kid right now, they can't have their families in the hospital. And I know that's a big time that your family's, once the baby's born and it's the baby's healthy and the mom is healthy, that the family will come in, the extended family, the grandparents, the brothers, the aunts and uncles. Not a whole bunch of people, but usually people are there, and your brothers, your sister, your siblings, whatever it may be. They come and they see the baby for the first time. They meet the baby for the first time. But with this pandemic that's going on, they're not allowed to have the extended family come. You can only have one person, which typically would be the spouse. Sometimes they don't have the spouse. They don't have the dad, the father. The father isn't there for the mother, so it's maybe a parent or a friend. So that's a really hard time for them. And in some cases, they don't get to meet the baby for a long time. You don't want your baby to be exposed to anybody or anything with what's going on in the world. So it is a difficult time. I know that some places are making women wear masks while they're in labor, which kind of seems crazy, because it's such a, you got to breathe. I'm sure everybody knows like how difficult it could be. Well, guys don't really know how difficult it can be, but how much the pain that the women go through. But they still have an idea of, you have to breathe. You have to. It's a lot of adrenaline and force and everything that goes through. And then where I fall into the picture is that Samantha's pregnant. Actually, yesterday on Tuesday, we reached the 20-week mark, so we're halfway there. And what sucks about it is that I can't go to any of her appointments. They don't let the woman bring anybody at all with them. I got to go to the first appointment, thankfully, the 8-week appointment, and I got to hear the heartbeat. I got to see the sonogram, but I haven't gotten to go to any other appointments since. The last sonogram I wasn't able to be there, and then there's another sonogram coming up next week. That and the way things stand right now, I won't be able to go there either. So it kind of it sucks because I would love to be there. But if that's, as long as Samantha and the baby are healthy, if I can't go, then I can't go. She'll bring home the picture and I'll get to hear all about it. Hopefully this whole quarantine thing and the whole pandemic thing is over by the time that we have the baby and everything's back to normal. Another thing about her being pregnant and it sucks for us is that, we plan on having our gender reveal next week. We would love to have our family and friends over, but you can't have gatherings of more than 10 people right now. So then we thought about it and we're like, well, maybe we can just our families. Well, our families together are more than 10 people and we can't sit here and say, oh, you can't come, but you can come. So it sucks because I was watching all these videos online and trying to get ideas of what we could do for our gender reveal, but in everyone you watch, the family's there and they're all excited for them. And it's just like, we may not get to experience that. And with it being our first child together, we kind of, I would like us to be surrounded by our friends and family, but if we can't, then I guess we can't, we'll still find a way to do it, and maybe it'll be a Zoom meeting or a Microsoft Teams meeting. I'm not quite sure. And then the last part of that is at the baby shower. I know something that Samantha's looking forward to is to have a baby shower. But if you can't have more than 10 people, you can't have a baby shower. I know that we know multiple people that haven't gotten to have their baby shower because it got canceled because of all this. I know that one of my buddies from college, they actually had a virtual baby shower where they had it over a Zoom meeting, or I don't know if they use Zoom or Microsoft Teams or what they use, but so that's an idea, but it's not the same as people being there in person. So that kind of sucks. So with all that said, I know that's kind of a downer situation, downer things that I just spoke of, but it was what was on my mind. And that's the whole reason I started the podcast to begin with, is I wanted to have just a space where I could talk and say things that were on my mind, because I didn't want to have a blog and I didn't want to write about things. So that's what's on my mind today. I hope to do these things more often. I hope that you guys hold me to it. I know I got some close friends and family that do listen and support the podcast. So if I go a little bit without a podcast, reach out and say, hey man, where's the pod? I know Donnie's done that before. Bryson's done that before. So hopefully you guys will continue to hold me accountable, and I'll get this thing going again. Now that this is now the end of the In Between Dreams podcast, which, by the way, when I started that and I named that, I had such a difficult time starting naming it. And then I was like, man, what can I do? Do I call it the Daniel Lynn Show? What do I call it? And then my favorite musical artist is Jack Johnson, and he has a CD called In Between Dreams. And I was like, man, I could call it that, because I'm going to talk about anything and everything, and basically whatever happens, quote, in between dreams. I think that was my tagline in the description. So that's why I went with that. And then started the YouTube channel, called it SheDanigans, play on my name, Daniel, even though I don't like being called Dan. I prefer Daniel, but it goes with it. So yeah, make sure that you subscribe to the new podcast, SheDanigans, SheDanigans. Make sure that if you're interested, go subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. I will tell you that our gender reveal will be a video, will be a vlog, and it will be posted to YouTube before it's posted to social media. So if you want to be one of the first people to find out, hit that subscribe button, and you will, and also hit the little notification bell, and you will know before a large amount of people will know if you're interested in that. I'll put a link in the description of the show. Anything else I got? I think next episode I'll have an agenda, some show notes, back to bust out my old notebook and get going on it again. And I was going to say something I completely forget. I know as soon as I get done, I'm going to remember it, and I'm going to be like, man, I should have put that in there. I'm not going to put any music at the end of this episode. Haven't listened to a lot of music lately. Been working from home. Thankfully, I still have a job. Thankfully, I was able to work from home. So I haven't really been listening to music. I remember what I was going to say. So if you've been with me with the podcast, you know that the ending, I would always end the show with a quote from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. Wise men said forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for light pizza. I figure that it's only right, since I am retiring the In Between Dreams podcast, that line will retire as well. So, before I end this, I just want to say thank you for listening. Once again, if you were with me with the In Between Dreams podcast, thank you for being a listener. Thank you for being a supporter. You know, I don't get paid for these things. That would be awesome, though, if I did get paid, but I don't. So I just do this for the love of it. I do the YouTube videos for the love of it. You know, I just like being a creative individual, I guess. So I really appreciate your support. I really do. And I hope that everyone out there is healthy. I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody's family is safe. I know that I live in Maryland. I know the restrictions just got lifted a little bit. And then on Friday, we're opening up some more. Please be safe out there. Please be smart. I would be fine social distancing forever and being 6 feet away from everybody. I would love that. But I really hope that everybody's okay and they're staying safe. And, you know, it's a hard time for everybody being stuck inside, and mental health is a serious issue. So if you do have any kind of, if you do need somebody to talk to, please reach out to somebody. Please, if you need somebody to listen, heck, you can message me and I'll listen. I may not know you very well, but I'll always listen to anybody and everybody, and maybe I can point you in the right direction if you need help or anything like that. So if you do need help, or just need somebody to talk to, please ask for help. So that'll do it for this episode. Hopefully this is a once a week occurrence at least. I can't promise that, but I will try. I promise I will try. So for the last time, since this is technically an In Between Dreams podcast, for the last time, wise men say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you when I'm looking at you. Peace.